Grade 8 students, it's nice to see you all again. I am Miss Rose Ann Mary Bugayong, your virtual teacher for today. You can call me Ma'am Ram. I am sure that you found the previous lesson in English 8 really enjoyable, and you are guaranteed to love the next one as well. What are you waiting for? Grab your pen and your English 8 Quarter 1 Week 3 learning activity sheets and let's get started. For this week's class, titled Using Modal Verbs Appropriately, our learning competency is use modal verbs appropriately. In this lesson, we will be focusing on the proper usage of modal auxiliary verbs in a sentence. By the end of the discussion, you will be able to, first, describe how modal verbs are used correctly and how important they are in conveying a message, and second, use modal verbs in sentences appropriately to express different intentions. Have you ever noticed how a single word, when added to a verb, can change the entire meaning of a sentence in a flash? Let us examine the underlined words in these sentences. I cooked sinigang sa bayabas. I can cook sinigang sa bayabas. I might cook sinigang sa bayabas. Do the sentences have the same meaning? If you answered no, you are correct. The meaning of the sentences is different from each other. This is because we have added the modals can and might before the main verb. How is that possible? Let me explain further in our discussion. When you are having a conversation with someone, it is important for you to express your intentions and the meaning of your ideas clearly. To help you communicate the specific meaning of your statement in any situation, it is necessary for you to have adequate knowledge about modal verbs. What are modal verbs? Modals or modal auxiliaries are verbs that give a different meaning to the main verb to which they are attached. So, modals are a type of auxiliary verbs that help other verbs to show meaning. Auxiliary verbs indicate information like tense, mood, voice, and other grammatical aspects of action. Modals, being auxiliary verbs, are used with another verb to express ideas like ability, possibility, permission, necessity, obligation, and many more. For example, Mrs. Castro can speak Ilocano and Kapampangan fluently. In the sentence, the modal verb can was added before the main verb speak to show the ability of Mrs. Castro to speak Ilocano and Kapampangan. Thus, the modal can is used to express an ability at present. Before I discuss the different modals and their uses, take note of the 3 basic rules to follow to avoid mistakes in using modals. The first rule is use the modal verb as is. Don't change its form and turn it into the present, future, or past forms. Don't add anything to it like s, es, ing, or ed. For example, we say Roberto can swim and not Roberto can swim. Next rule is use the base form of the verb after a modal. Don't use to or the full infinitive verb to. For example, we say you will submit your last next week. If you say you will submitted your last next week, that is incorrect. Lastly, if you need to use modals in the negative form, then use only not after the modal verb. Don't add any extra words anymore. For example, it is you should not talk to strangers and not you don't should talk to strangers. Let us now proceed to the different modals and their uses. First is can. Can is used to express the ability to do something at present. For example, Mrs. Panlaki can play the piano. In this sentence, we used can to tell that Mrs. Panlaki has the ability to play the piano. Next function of can is it is used to ask or give permission in informal situations like when you are only talking with your friends, siblings, or someone who is very familiar to you. For example, can I use your pen? Yes, you can. Next modal is could. It is used to show an ability in the past. Example, Emma could reach her toes without bending her knees when she was 5. In this sentence, it means that Emma had the ability before, but she could no longer do that now that she's older. Could is also used to express low possibility. A low possibility means that an event has only less than 50% chances of happening in the future, but there are signs or clues that the event could happen. For example, it could rain today. In this situation, the speaker may have watched a weather forecast saying that there is a low chance of rain in their area, foretelling that it could rain that day. To make a polite request is also one of the functions of the modal could. For example, could you give this letter to the principal, please? Then, just like can, could is also used to ask or give permission, but in formal situations like meetings and conferences. For example, could I leave the room now? Yes, you could. Lastly, could is used to express unreal condition, like you are telling the things that you could do in non-existent situations. For example, if I were a millionaire, I could travel around the world. Number 3, we have may. It is used to ask or give permission in formal situations. Note that the use of may is more formal than could. For example, may we borrow that book, ma'am? Yes, you may. Then, may is also used to express wish. For example, may your prayers be granted. The last use of may is to express possibility, like 50% possibility. Compared to could, may expresses a greater chance for an event to happen. For example, Ma'am Fajardo may administer the quiz tomorrow. Another modal auxiliary is might. It is used to express low possibility. Might expresses a weaker possibility than the modal could, and it suggests little information from the situation. For example, my parents might allow me to go to your birthday party. In this sentence, the speaker is just simply assuming that he or she might be allowed to attend the party without any signs from his or her parents. The fifth is will. Will is used to express possibility, specifically high possibility. It means that there is 90% to 100% possibility for the event to happen. Example, Mr. Lissing will meet the SSG officers tomorrow morning. Then, will is also used to express future action. It is commonly used to express an event or action in the future. For example, Rachel's parents will buy her a pair of shoes as a gift for her birthday. Another intention that will expresses is willingness to do something. Example, Valerie will read her lessons in advance. Lastly, will is used to express promise. For example, I will visit you every Sunday. Next, we have would. Just like the modal could, would is used to express polite request. But take note that could is more formal than would in terms of making requests. Example: would you pass me the bowl of rice? Next, would is used to express polite invitation. For example, would you like to watch a movie with us? Another function of would is to express unreal condition, like expressing something that you like to do in an unreal or non-existent situation. For example, if I were the class president, I would monitor the cleanliness of our classroom religiously. Last use of would is to express a desire or want. For example, someday I would like to go on a trip in every tourist spot in the Philippines. Then we have shall. Shall expresses suggestion. For example, shall I buy pandesal for our breakfast? Then, it is used to express future action. It is usually used with the first personal pronouns I or we. Moreover, shall is more formal than the modal will. For example, I shall see you in the office. Shall also intends to express promise or determination. It is commonly used in the second and third persons like you, he, she, and they. For example, you shall be given plus points in the quiz if you participate well in your performance task. Lastly, it is used to express a command. For example, they shall clean the classroom first thing in the morning. Moving on, we have should. This modal is used to express obligation and duty. For example, children should be respectful to their parents. And it is used to give advice. Example, you should wear a blue dress. It suits you. For number 9, we have must. Must is used to express necessity. For example, the Department of Health advised us to protect ourselves from COVID-19. We must always wear a face mask whenever we are in public places. Next is it indicates a strong obligation. When you use must to express an obligation, it suggests a strong responsibility to perform the action. Example, the students must submit their requirements on time. Then, must is used to express strong certainty. When you use this, you are very sure and certain of your observations and conclusions because you have an evidence. For example, Rob practiced football with his teammates the whole morning. He must be tired. The evidence for being certain that Rob is tired in this sentence is the fact that they played football the whole morning. Last one, it is used to give advice. Compared to should, must suggests a stronger advice. For example, you must always ask your teacher when you have difficulties in understanding the lesson. For the last modal auxiliary, we have ought to. In a sentence, ought to expresses necessity or obligation but with a weaker force. For example, you ought to see a doctor. Alright, we are done now with the discussion. Do you have any questions? How do you find the lesson so far? In the event there are unclear ideas, you can go back from the beginning of the discussion. If everything is good now, we can start answering the activities. Let's go! Before we proceed with the activities, I want you to listen first with the general directions. First, you have to read carefully the directions indicated in the activities. Then, provide what is needed or asked in each item. If you have clarifications or questions, you may contact your English teacher. Now, let us see if you understood our lesson. You have 5 activities in this learning activity sheets with 10 to 15 items per activity. What we will do now is we will take the first item and try to explain why it is the answer. Then, you will do the succeeding ones on your own. Let's start! For activity A on pages 2 to 3 of your LAS, you will complete each sentence in the given conversations with the modal can or could. You will write your answer on the blank provided in each item. Let's try to answer number 1. So here is the conversation in number 1. So you could pause the video for you to read the conversation. So what do you think is the proper modal for the first sentence? Is it can or could? How about in the second sentence? I'll give you 5 seconds to think of your answer. Time's up. If your answer in the first sentence is could and can in the second, you got it right. The first sentence is indicating an inability in the past, so we used could, while in the second one, it is showing an ability at present, that is why we used can. Just keep in mind all the differences in the uses and functions of these 2 modals for you to answer correctly all the items in this activity. You may also refer to the notes discussed in your LAS. I know you can get a perfect score in this activity. Let's proceed to activity B, page 3. For this activity, you will complete each sentence with will or would. Are you ready to try answering the first item? Okay, let's answer it. A group of overseas Filipino workers blank donate gadgets to some students in the Philippines to help them adapt to the blended learning program in light of the pandemic. Is the answer will or would? Time starts now. All right. The answer is yes, it is will. Why? Correct. It is because in the sentence, the intention is to express a future action. Let's go to the next activity. For activity C, pages 3 to 4, you will underline the modal verb with the main verb and write the use of the modal in the sentence on the blank before each number. A list of the uses in a box is provided in this activity, and you may choose your answer there. Let us answer the first item. You may use my laptop. I don't have my online class today. Again, I'll give you 5 seconds to think of your answers. Timer starts now. Alright, where is the modal and its main verb in the sentence? Correct, it is may use. How was the modal may used in the sentence? Look for your answer in the provided choices in your LAS. So, what is your answer? Very good! It is to give permission. Now, for activity D, pages 4 to 5, you will complete each given sentence by choosing the appropriate modal verb from the given choices. Write the capital letter of your answer on the space provided before each number. Let's now answer the first item. Number 1. You blank be home before the curfew. What is the appropriate modal for the sentence? Is it A, will, B, can, C, shall, or D, would? I know you'll get this correctly. Timer starts now. Okay, so what is the answer? That is right. The answer is C, shall. What use of shall was applied in the sentence? Correct. It is used to express a command. I know the activities are getting more challenging, but the fact that you are still actively participating in this session means that you are eager and that you are willing to accept challenges. I know you can do this. Let's now proceed to the last activity. In Activity E, pages 5 to 6, there are given situations with questions that you have to answer in complete sentences using the appropriate modal. Your answers here may vary, but make sure that your sentence has modal in it and that you used the modal correctly. Let me give you an example for number 1. A person who is working from Manila returned to his or her home province. What must he or she do for 14 days according to the health authorities? In this item, based on the situation, you may answer, a person who is working from Manila and returned to his or her home province must be quarantined for 14 days. Since the question asked, what must the person do, we used the modal must in the answer. So that's how you will answer this activity, okay? That's it for the activities. I hope that you understood what you will do in each activity. Again, if you are still having difficulties, you may revisit the discussion part in this video or you may contact your English teacher. Good luck to you! Now, once you're done on accomplishing all the activities in your class, you can start answering the reflection questions on page 6 to assess yourself if you had successfully achieved the target concepts and if the lesson somehow developed and improved your skills in using modal verbs. Remember to answer the questions meaningfully and write your answers in complete sentence. The first question is, what part of the lesson did you like most? Why? In this question, you will tell your favorite part of the lesson and you will explain why. Next question is, in what activity or activities did you experience difficulties? Why? For this question, you will tell which activity you found most challenging and you will explain why it is challenging for you. And lastly, among all the activities that you accomplished, which one is the most significant? Why? So, you will share your significant learning in this question. Then, of course, you will explain why it is significant for you. Let us also pay attention on the list of sources used in completion of our English 8 Quarter 1 Week 3 Learning Activity Sheet. Congratulations! You have successfully finished our lesson for this week. In this learning activity sheets, you were able to describe how modal verbs are used correctly and how important they are in conveying a message. Of course, you were also able to use modal verbs appropriately. By this time, I hope that you can apply whatever lessons you've learned in your daily conversation, even when you have writing activities in your classes. Make sure you keep these lessons with you as they will serve you well as you move on to the next lessons. Again, this is Miss Rose Ann Mary Bugayong, also known as Ma'am Ram. Thank you for joining me and have a great day ahead.